This Voice Registry podcast is brought to you by voicebank.net. Hi, and welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Pattin, and I am in the field at Terry Berland Casting Studios with casting director, and she's an on-camera and voiceover casting director, Terry Berland. Terry, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Nice to be here at your studios.
This is different. Thank you.
And we're just, right now, we're walking into one of her great studios to talk more about casting and the voiceover world. Terry and I are sitting in one of her wonderful studios. And as I said, Terry is casting director, owns her own casting company, and she's the author of a great book called Breaking Into Commercials. So you're quite the mogul.
Oh, thank you.
Terry, first off, how did you get into casting?
Well, I was living in New York City, got a job in an ad agency, and at the time they were all on Madison Avenue. Got a job in casting as a little assistant, making phone calls and looking around and learning, and worked my way up in the industry through the ad agencies. Ended up being the head of casting for BBDO, which is the third largest in the world, and then eventually opened up my own company in Los Angeles, which already it's 17 years ago.
And I know you do both on camera and voiceover,
Yes.
And for our voiceover audience,
Yes.
I'm sure they really want to know, what do you look for in a VO talent? What makes you want to bring them in?
Well, first of all, from my background at an ad agency, I always cast the on-camera, then I cast the voiceover, and I lived with those ad agency people. So I have a really good idea of how to interpret a script and to keep my clients happy. So first I have to know how to interpret the script as far as the feel and the sound and what they're looking for, and then parlay that into directing the actors and getting that out of them. So, I need someone who's very flexible, someone who really knows their craft, looking more for personality, especially if it's comedy. Radio spots are comedy, so you need timing and people who are good at improv. And I bring a lot of people in from my on-camera when it comes to radio, if there's comedy, which there usually is. So a lot of people get their start that way from me in voiceovers. It depends, for that I'm looking for a sense of comedy. If it's an announcer, that's a whole other technique. And then there's the non-announcer announcer where they can't sound like an announcer, but they definitely have to know, like a comedy person could not do a non-announcer announcer.
What are some of the big mistakes that some voiceover actors make in the audition when you're trying to cast them?
Well, one of the big mistakes is they can't take direction and they get in their own way. And they have something very definite in mind that, in the reception area, you're supposed to prepare the script and make choices, which you must. But then when someone directs you, you have to be able to take that direction easily.
Do you find that a lot of voiceover actors have a hard time with that?
No, not a lot. But, if someone was to do something wrong, I would say that would be the thing that they would do wrong.
What would you say that voiceover actors need to do to stay competitive? I mean, it's just getting more and more competitive, right?
Yeah, it's very competitive with the internet and, a lot of times in Los Angeles, the voiceover actors either do it in their home, from their home booth, or they go to their agent's office. And then there's only a couple of casting directors that really cast here, myself and another one or two.
Do you think they need classes? Do they need to audition every day? What are those things that make them really good?
To stay competitive, a voiceover actor has to, it depends, they have to know their craft.
Right.
And they can take classes, but then there's a point where you don't take classes anymore because you're so good.
Yes.
And you don't take classes anymore. You don't have to.
And that's I think it's a very interesting perspective, because I think sometimes voiceover actors think they have to take classes indefinitely.
No, it's not like regular acting. You keep going to classes and classes and classes, and you should. You know, you need to keep getting the depth and the layers and working out. Even celebrities, they don't take classes anymore, but when they're up for a role in a film, or they get their film, they work with a coach who works with them. Voiceover, once you know that technique, you just know it, and just doing it and getting booked or feeling good about it, or getting feedback from someone who knows what they're doing. That's all you need.
Well, Terry, thank you so much. This has been part 1 of my interview with Terry Berland. Join me next time for part 2. This Voice Registry podcast was brought to you by VoiceBank.net.